How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another Marvel Snap video. So I've got 4 Blob decks for you guys, but for those of you who haven't seen Blob, he comes out today. He is a 6 cost, 4 power with an on reveal. Merge your deck into this and gain its total power. Ongoing can't be moved. Now the ongoing can't be moved, I don't think matters at all, but the merge your deck into this and gain its total power, you're not destroying your entire deck, just all the cards in the deck. You're basically just gaining all of their power. You're not getting abilities, you're not getting their on reveals, ongoings, any of that stuff. You're just getting their power. So Blob has the ability to get extremely big, especially in specific deck archetypes, and that's kind of our goal for day 1. So let's go over to the first deck. I've got 2 ramp decks for you. The first ramp deck is the one I'm most excited for. It's by Safety Blade. It's built around kind of your traditional ramp, and it's focused on having a good ramp core and then just the ability to get Blob somewhat big. It's not all in on Blob, it's not all in on trying to get the biggest Blob, but you're just looking for that solid ramp foundation. So obviously you have Electro and Wave. Those are going to be your turn 3 plays. You try to get a lockdown location on turn 4 with Professor X. I think Professor X is going to be key to play with Blob. If you can win a lane with Professor X, then dropping one big guy on turn 6 is a good play. If you're fighting for all 3 locations, dropping one big guy on 6 becomes a bit worse. So I do think Professor X is a very good card. Let's go over the play lines of this deck. Turn 1, obviously you have Nebula. That's really your only play. Turn 2, you're looking to either armor or Jeff. A lot of the times you can just play the armor and then prep for protection for some of your bigger cards like Blob later on. Turn 3, you're looking to Electro or Wave. I like the Electro line better. I like dropping Electro, having that extra energy, try to lock something down on turn 4, Professor X, and then having 2 6 drops on 5 and 6. So I do think that's a better line, but you also have the Wave line where you can wave and then probably drop a 6 drop on turn 4. Not Blob, it'll delete your deck unless you have your turns lined up. But again, if you drop Electro on turn 4, Professor X, turn 5, you're looking to possibly Blob or Orca, and then turn 6, again, Blob or Orca. You also have the line where if you don't play Professor X on 4, you can play, say, Sandman on 4, turn 5, play Blob, get a big Blob, and then turn 6, Arnim Zola that Blob. If you go the Wave line, ideally, you would drop a 6 drop on turn 4, a 5 drop on turn 5, and then another 6 drop on turn 6. Most excited for this deck. Try this out. Safety Blade's ramp deck. The next ramp deck is Nerf Herder's Blob ramp deck. It's a little bit more focused on getting a bigger Blob and then Arnim Zoling that Blob and getting the most value out of that. So no Professor X in this one. You got the turn 1 Sunspot, turn 2 Jeff. You can also just play Ebony Maw. Ebony Maw is mainly there though to make your Blob even bigger if it's still in your deck. So turn 1 Sunspot, turn 2 Jeff, turn 3 Electro or Wave. Again, depending on which one you play, your turn 4 is either going to be a 5 drop or a 6 drop, and then you're just dropping as many big cards as possible on the last 3 turns. This ramp deck running Black Panther Odin, Black Panther Arnim Zola. I haven't run that in a long time, so I'm really excited to play with that again. It is running Doc Ock. If you want, you can swap out, say, Vision for like a Shang-Chi or something. A lot of people may be running Blob on day 1. If your Doc Ock pulls Blob, it'll delete their deck, and then you can delete their Blob. I might actually give that a shot, but ramp deck, just talked about the last play lines. This is almost the same thing, just some different combos thrown in there. Next up, another deck that I'm really excited for, Blob Thanos. It's a control Thanos shell. Like I said, Professor X I think is really important to play with Blob. This one not running armor to protect that Blob. I do think with the Elsa nerf, you might be able to swap out Elsa for, say, an armor, and maybe the Nico for a different 1-drop and experiment with other things. But again, the idea, have as much cards in your deck, as many cards in your deck, so Blob can get as powerful as possible. Early game, you're just trying to build to get a time stone on turn 3, so you can Professor X on turn 4. If you don't Professor X on turn 4 and you have that time stone, then you obviously just want to play another 5 drop. You may want to save the time stone for turn 4, so you can drop one of your 6 drops like Blob on turn 5. Again, you have wiggle room, you have ways to adapt with this deck, but at its core, it's a Thanos control shell. And then for your turn 6, once you get set up there, you either have Blob if you don't have priority, or Alioth if you have priority. I think Alioth is also going to be really strong because I think a lot of people are going to be running the next deck I'm going to show you, and Alioth just obliterates that deck. So the last deck that I have for you guys is Blob Tribunal. I hate Tribunal decks. I hate Hella decks. I'm not a fan of them at all. But when they can get this absurd, I am a fan. Echo's kind of your tech spot that you can play with. You can play another big card if you'd like here. But the goal of this deck is to play Invisible Woman on turn 2. Turn 3, you can extend the game in another lane with magic. And then turn 4, Iron Lad, I guess, if you have him. Try to hit one of your big cards. Turn 5, you're playing your Modok behind your Invisible Woman. Turn 6, you're playing your Hella behind your Invisible Woman. If you have a turn 7, you're dropping one of your other big cards there. But the idea, obviously, is to use Modok to discard all of your massive cards, your Blob, your Hella, your Onslaught, your Living Tribunal, all of that stuff. Sorry, not discard your Hella. You don't want Blob to discard your Hella. You want Modok to discard all of your other big cards and use Hella to bring them all back. This deck was capped out of in power based on the cards you had in hand. So ideally you would get like an Iron Man and a Living Tribunal and an Onslaught in the same lane and would disperse that power. But you were limited to the power that you had available to you in your hand. Now, if Blob comes out, you not only get to Living Tribunal all the stuff that was in your hand, but Blob will get all the power from your deck and disperse that as well. So it can get ridiculous. I'm curious what the numbers are going to look like as far as how big and how much power people are going to be able to get, because it seems insane and I'm pretty excited for it. This might be the most excited for Hella Tribunal that I have been ever. So I'm going to give it a shot. If you guys made it this far in the video, please leave a comment and tell me what decks you have tried with Blob, what you've been successful with. I want to give some of these decks a shot in the next few days. If I find one that I really like, I'll do a video on it later on in the week. And of course, I will shout you out. But I'm looking for Blob decks. It's a fun card. I don't know how good it's going to be, but it will be fun. I can tell you that. So I'm buying it immediately. I'm super excited for it. I'll probably have a video coming out. I'll film it tonight, and then I'll have it out probably tomorrow or something. I'll pick my favorite deck that I've been finding with Blob, maybe one of these 4, maybe a different one, and I'll have a deck video on it and let you guys know if I was successful or not with it. So I do deck videos like this all the time. The bundle video that I do weekly, I'm going to have that come out on Thursdays now, just so I can do these day 1 deck videos for you guys. I want to be able to do these, so I'm pushing the bundle videos up a little bit because I don't typically do too much on Thursdays. So as usual, if you love all things Marvel Snap, make sure you like and subscribe, the bell. I'll see you in the next one.